Right, let's break down those market movements now with Cilliers from TreasuryOne. Andre, thanks for your time this evening. So overall market movements, a relatively good day for the JSE, unlike what we saw ending off the week last week.
Yes, we ended the week off badly last week, but I think if you look at what happened through the markets last week, with especially the inflation figures that came out of the United States and the subsequent movement in their markets, and also on the tech stocks, we've seen quite a bit of a movement there after that. So I think it was sort of a foregone conclusion that our markets would also battle. So the figures out of the US, as I said, wasn't good, and throughout the world, the figures wasn't all that good and a little confusing to what can be expected.
Despite what's happening globally, those catalysts that you've just mentioned, Andre, the rand has remained rather resilient over the past few weeks against major global currencies, and in particular the dollar.
Yes, the rand is an interesting one, benefiting still from the high commodity prices. Reference of trade is still looking excellent and record highs for South Africa. So the rand is benefiting from that. Demand is still at the slow levels. We're not seeing massive demand on dollar side. We're not seeing massive expansion from factories, manufacturing side. The retail sales are still a little bit low. So demand side slow, exports doing extremely well. And as I said, trade balance up at the record highs, and the rand benefiting from that.
Right, two sets of results coming out from companies in the property industry. I want to start with Redefine Properties in the commercial property space. We'll be speaking to the CEO later, actually. But in your thoughts, when you combed through them, what were some of the salient features?
Well, I think if you look at the results there, I think one of the biggest things there is the relief that was given through the COVID period, just over 107 million rand worth of relief to tenants, definitely impacting on the results. And then also the renewal of leases. We're seeing that leases are being renewed, but it's renewed at lower levels, lower pricing, so lower square meterage pricing coming in. And that's also due to lower demand. We are seeing in certain spaces where a lot of properties, office space, are being converted into residential areas now, because there's just a lower demand for office space. And that is a lot to do with the work from home phenomenon that came out of the COVID-19. And that's something that's going to continue, and that's something that's going to impact on the property sector quite significantly going forward.
And what did you make of Balwan? Of course, they did report a decline in earnings, but their 1- and 2-bedroom apartments are very popular, and there have been some significant pre-sales already for them.
Yes, I've always looked at these pre-sales. It's always an interesting one. You know, you look at the pre-sales, and then as the thing starts being built, then I think some of the pre-sales actually fall to the wayside. So I am a bit cautious when people speak about this fantastic pre-sales because, you know, it doesn't always translate into bonds being granted. A pre-sale is people signing up to buy, but there's still the application for bonds, etc. And I'm not quite sure at what level do they actually announce that as a pre-sale, whether it's already approved by a bond or not. And in the current market circumstances, yes, we are working in a very low interest rate environment. But if you look at the inflation figures that came out of the US, you look at what we expect out of South Africa, and as we go through the months lying ahead of us, we're getting closer to interest rate increases. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that that's going to happen immediately. That's still, call it 9 months away. But, you know, when those interest rates start going up, then that's certainly going to bite on the residential sector quite significantly, and that's a space that they play in.
Very interesting insights, as always. Cilliers from TreasuryOne giving us a wrap of the markets. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, in the next bulletin, we're going to be drilling through Redefine Properties numbers with the chief executive.
Thank you very much. That is Rofhiwa Madzena.